up next on Inspiring Beauty and Believers?
There are days that me and my daughter bump heads because we're both trying to compete for Susie.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspiring Beauty and Believers. My name is Song, and today we are talking about blended families. So if you don't know, the month of September is, well, actually, September 16th is National Step Family Day or National Blended Family Day. But I'm just going to take the entire month to talk about this conversation because this is something that a lot of people don't really understand the dynamics of blended families and why it is a lot harder to keep a blended family together versus help me with the word. It's biological, they're all together. It's like nuclear or something. I can't remember the word, but you guys know what I'm saying. So we wanted to have a conversation about this because I read this book, the Smart Step Family by Ron Deal, and he talked about the percentage of blended families, how they are 10 to 20% higher rate of divorce because if it doesn't work out in the first 2 to 7 years, the relationship ends up failing. So we're going to have a conversation about this with some blended families that I know. So we'll start off with you guys introducing yourselves first and how long you have been married. We'll start with Susie and Matt.
Hi, we're the Harris family. We have been married now for just over 3 years. June, we celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary. We have been together for going on 5 years, 6 years.
Long time.
Awesome. And then Alicia and Tim, I don't ever know which way I'm pointing. So over here in the other corner.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Tim. We've been married for, it'll be 19 years on the 17th of this month.
Yay.
Thank you. Yeah, and so we knew each other for 4 months and 12 days before we got married. So it's 19 years of knowing each other and 19 years of being
married. Awesome. And then last but certainly not least, Brianna and Leo.
Good, babe.
I'm Leo, Brianna, we the Ferdinand family. October, we will be married, going on 5 years in October. Known each other almost seven.
What? I feel like that number might not be right the way her face is looking.
Really?
Babe, you know, before we got married?
Yeah.
That was
I met you when Michael was 3.
Yeah.
He's 10.
Okay.
I mean, I know how to do math. 7
Okay.
plus 3 is 10.
That threw me off. Sorry.
That's all you needed, right?
Yeah, that's good. Good job. See, he knows his numbers. That's important.
Very important. I've been doing a lot of counting lately.
So what would you guys say, and anybody can take the lead on this, what would you guys say is the number one struggle of a blended family?
Yep.
That part?
Yeah.
I would say for me in the beginning was knowing my limits, knowing what I could do, what I couldn't do. So for us, when we got married, Alicia already had a daughter. So it was about finding my limits and knowing, like, not treating her like a stepchild or like she is her child, but treating the daughter like she's our child. And so knowing my limits on how far I could go with the relationship between her and her father, how far I could go with the relationship between her and her mom, kind of where I stood in her life, and like I know where I stand in her life from my perspective, but where do I stand in her life from her perspective? And so finding that limit, that was the hardest thing.
And I would concur with that. Because when Susie and I got together, she had the 2 kids already, which from day one I claimed as my own. And there are days that me and my daughter bump heads because we're both trying to compete for Susie, which causes a lot of additional strife at times.
Mhm.
And it puts Susie into the middle of it because now she's got to play referee or try and figure out whose side she's got to take, and or just say I'm out and leave us to work through it.
Okay. Good.
I would say what Tim said, knowing your limits. I think for me, like I said, when I came into the picture, Michael was already 3. And me and Michael had just hit it off from the very beginning. And so I kind of never really had to kind of go in depth to think about that, because like he was always coming to spend a night with me. We'll play video games. So for me, it really wasn't no type of difficult part to blend it in. I would go that far to say that for me, it really wasn't difficult because me and him hit it off from the very beginning.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so for me and our daughter Ajane, I think it was me putting pressure on it,
Right.
of how to make this relationship work. Because me and her we never bumped heads. We never had she's at no time. And when we met, Ajane was 1 going on 2, and now she's 21.
Mm-hmm.
And so in all of that time, we've never had you're not my father, you can't tell me what to do. We've never had any of that type of conversation. When we got married, I was still in the Army, and we were in Germany. And so, my picture was around the house. And so Alicia would show her my photo. And so when I left, I was Tim. When I came back, I was Daddy.
Right.
So we never, and from that day to this, we've never had any, you can't tell me what to do, none of that stuff.
Right. So I'm hearing from all the guys. So since the ladies, since you came into the relationship and it was your biological child, how did you transition with having somebody who was not biologically your child's father? How did you integrate that relationship and knowing the boundaries or how much to allow them to, be a part of the child's life? Because obviously you wanted them to be a part of your child's life because you married a person, but with the transition.
So when we came into this, Sophia was 7 and Lane was 10. So they were a little bit older, and their biological dad had been involved for most of that time. So I told Matt right off the bat, just be their friend, bond with them, and they will kind of tell you when it's time for you to be something more. And Sophia, literally, we were sitting on the porch with my mom, and she said, what do you think of Matt? And she said, I love Matt, but I think he needs to discipline me more. So she guided Matt into that situation where she was able to tell him what she needed from him. And she continues to do that, but now it's coded because she's an adolescent and they don't say anything without a code.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I guess I always knew I was gonna get married, and when Michael was born, I always knew that his father wasn't my husband. His biological father wasn't my husband, but I more prepared myself and him. He usually slept in the bed with me. I stopped that. I asked for opinions from males because I have a son. I'm a female. He's a male. I can't teach him how to be a male.
Right.
I can't. I can teach him how to be a gentleman, but not to be, like nasty or anything, but he pees standing up, I pee sitting down.
Right.
I don't know what to do. So I asked a lot of the male figures that were a part of my life on what to do and what not to do to prepare both of us for the man that's going to love us both. And so I think that's why it was an easier transition for when Leo came in, because I was prepared, and I believe Michael was prepared. So when it was that time where Leo disciplined him, I had to step back and say, he's the man of the house. He's the dad. Mm-hmm. So I need to step back and just be like, okay, I'll cry in my room.
Right. You can be like, this man.
I don't want to hear it. So.
For me, I think in the beginning, my daughter's father was still involved in her life. So I wanted to make sure that she knew who each of them, were, and the distinction between them two. But I also had that trust with Tim. Like when we first met, he was all in the beginning. Like, I'm like, okay, I got a daughter. He was like, okay, good. That's cool, and never once did he, when we get married, did he say, well, your daughter, your daughter. No, he was all in the beginning. So it made it easier. Mm-hmm. I think, with her being the age that she was, it was kind of easy to just, a lot of males she never really bonded with except for her father. When she first met Tim, when I introduced her to Tim, she hugged him, and I was like, she never does that. So she was already like loving on him. And so it made it easy. As far as the discipline, I knew that he was going to be in her life forever. So I knew I had to step back when he was disciplining her. We had moments where I had to kind of lead him and guide him on some disciplining. For instance, he would just spank her if she did something, but she didn't know what she did. So to do it again, she would do it again. So I had to explain to him, you have to have the conversation with her and say, hey, this is not what you're supposed to do. This is not right. If you do it again, then you'll get a spanking instead of just spanking her. And she does it again, and you keep spanking her. She doesn't know what not to do. So I just had to guide him on, hey, you have to explain to her what she's doing, what she's not doing, so she doesn't do it again. Have a conversation. So since then, he took my advice, thank God. And they had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations prior to the spankings and things like that. So for us, it was more easier than hard or a struggle because of the age that she was.
Right.
But then she hit those twos, and there's that no word and all that. So that's where, and then I had to learn how to take I wouldn't necessarily say criticism, but there are times where he said I was, always allowing her to do this or do that, and she needs to learn, or I'm always helping her do this, so I had to step back, listen to what he's saying, take his advice, and vice versa. So we both were kind of growing up together in this parenting thing,
Right.
so it was kind of like as if he was always there. In a way, you're learning. This is your first child. You're learning
Right.
the whole way through.
Hmm.
So
And I would echo those sentiments because I came in, 7 and 9 years into their relationship where it was just Susie and them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that actually both of you guys brought that up, because one of the studies that I saw said that in normal marriages, where the children come after you've already been married, it's husband and wife, and then it's children. But in blended families, because you already have these kids, it's my kids come first, and then my spouse comes first. So what are your thoughts on that?
If you like this channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's video.
We see this all over social media, right?
Yeah.
Who come first, the kids,
Uh-huh.
this.